So today, going to be doing a Saginaw power steering pump conversion on this 01 F250. Already got a little bit into it, but take the air box out. Make sure you flush the old fluid out of that port. You hook a clear poly hose up to it and run it over into a bucket and press the brakes. Steer it back and forth. But the Saginaw power steering pump puts out a little higher pressure than the factory Ford one. Hopefully it'll be a pretty good upgrade, but take the air box out, take your boost tube off, remove your belt, and that's pretty much it for preliminary stuff. 13 mil ratchet. Take the power steering pump, alternator off. It's got 3 bolts and it'll come right out of the way. 14 mil wrench, crack this bolt loose that connects the mount for the pressure line to the hydro boost unit. The new one will not be using that. And then you're going to disconnect that line back there. It'll take this whole piece out, and you remove the whole bracket. 18mm wrench undoes that pressure line. You'll be able to spin that out by hand after you crack it loose. Want to make sure you get that O-ring out of there so that you don't double O-ring it. When you go back to put it in, then you reinstall this one nut you took off. You'll tighten that back down. You can remove this return line. I have these fancy set of snap-on hose clamp pliers. Usually they're a little stuck on there. You remove that. Next we'll get to the power steering and alternator bracket. One thing about this kit, use a different pressure line, and these trucks inherently have this problem where the pressure line runs right up against this shock mount and eventually rubs a hole in it. And just a poor design. The new one is going to route it up and around into there. Much better. This kit uses no custom parts except for the bracket itself. The power steering pump is a Cardone pump off of 2001 to 2010 Chevy Duramax. The one pressure line is off of a 81 to 91, I believe, Chevy 1500 pickup. Then you have to use a different pulley off of a 6.7 Powerstroke 11 to 16. All pretty readily available parts. I got all mine off Amazon. If you're doing it on your truck and you haven't switched to the upper coolant hose that routes around the belt, these ones didn't come from factory, or may have came from factory on some. It routes around the belt so that you don't have to drain coolant to change your serpentine belt. The factory ones run from here through the belt down to your thermostat housing. And to change the serpentine belt, you would have to drain the coolant, remove the top hose, install the belt, put it back on, fill it up. This is a pretty good and cheap upgrade. I think they're like 19 bucks from any auto parts store. And next we'll get the bracket. So the kit comes with this bracket. It says in the instructions to grind the paint off of these 4 so that the alternator grounds correctly. It also comes with this bracket right here that connects to the pump. So I'm gonna grind those down real quick and we'll get that put in the truck. So it comes with these 2 shorter bolts. They go in the ones without the spacers, so go like that into there. I'm gonna put some blue Loctite on there after I wipe this dust off. I used a little snap-on buffer wheel type thing. These longer bolts will go through here and then continue to go through here. On this, there's one shorter bolt than the rest of them. When you're putting that in, I installed this with a puller installer for power steering pumps. You can rent that at a auto parts store or wherever you can get that. So the bracket is set in there with 2 bolts per the instructions. Next, we take these longer bolts, these 2 nuts, and we're going to slide this into place. Those 2 nuts go right there. So I got the pump and bracket in there. I was going to put the alternator back on, and the 1 bolt in the rear here, I'm going to have to cut it down a little bit. It's a little bit too long for the bracket because that hole doesn't go all the way through. So I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch or so off this and throw it back in. So now that the bracket, alternator, pump, and everything is on there and tightened down, put blue Loctite on all the hardware throughout. Just don't want it coming loose on me. I am going to connect the pressure line to that port there, up to this port here, and I'll show you how that routes. So I got that line routed. I kind of twisted it up under here and it just crosses right over. I did bend it down a little bit so that it has clearance around the firewall. And it just routes down here. It's going to go under the intercooler pipe and then go right into the back. 16 mil wrench to tighten that, 18 mil wrench to tighten it up there. So now I got this pretty much all plumbed up, ready to fill with fluid. One thing they don't tell you in the instructions is you got to get a piece of 3/8 power steering oil cooler hose to run for your return, which is what I told you guys, to flush out your old fluid before you put a new pump in. So that's pretty much it. This factory line I just cut back a little bit and I bent this down so all the CAC pipe is going to clear once I put it back in. So I'm gonna hook the belt back up, fill it with some fluid. You're supposed to jack up the front end, get the wheels in the air, fill it with fluid, turn it a couple times to get any air pockets out. I'm going to do that as well, and I will show that. Before I fill it with fluid, I put this little strap on here that it comes with to hold the upper radiator hose. So I got the truck lifted up, front wheel's just barely off the ground. I'll turn the key on just to make sure the steering wheel doesn't lock. I'll turn back and forth a couple times, just with the engine off, just to get any air bubbles out that we can so we don't ruin the pump. Put it back straight again. Press the brake pedal a couple times just for safe measures. Turn the key back off and we'll fill it up with fluid again. It should have dropped a little bit, definitely did. And then we'll start it up and get the air on it. So I started it up after I put the fluid in it. Now we're going to press the brakes and steer the wheel, try to get some air out of it. You want to do that with the wheels off the ground. our fluid one more time. Yeah, it's right on par. So for the most part, we got all the arrows. So I got the truck back on the ground, full weight on the tires. I mean, one finger, this thing spins like no one's business. Before, I got 35 by 12.5-inch tires on this. When you'd be at a stop, it would not like to turn, as it really shouldn't, but I think this upgrade is worth the money all day long. So one thing I did have to do, my airbox is already all cut up because I have the coolant filter, so I had to cut some more out. When I put this in, I didn't take the airbox out, so I just made a kind of bad cut there. So I cut along here, cut in and back and up into this. Might be a deal breaker for some people if they like keeping their stuff kind of factory, but you can still get that out pretty easily. You could probably cut more even if you wanted to. So that's one thing. So there's a finished product. See the pump down in there, factory airbox, back end is a little hacked up, but that should be okay. But I really enjoyed the fit and finish. There were a few things I didn't like, but overall it's a really good kit. Whoever came up with that was pretty smart, because those are junk. But other than that, should be a very good pump that'll last me a long time. And that should be it for this one, guys. Thanks.